All right, folks, welcome. I'm really glad you've chosen to come or to watch this later. Um, we are continuing our mindfulness and emotions series. We've talked about what to do when you're angry, what to do when you're sad, what to do when you're anxious. And so today, I thought it'd be fun to talk about mindfulness and boredom. So, what you should do if you're feeling bored. And that's something that we can all relate to. I feel like most of us feel bored from time to time, especially in a pandemic. So, all you folks that are sitting at home in a pandemic in the wintertime, you're just staring at the wall. So, we need to talk about what we can do when we're feeling bored. Um, but the first thing we always do before we go on a mindful walk, because we're gonna do that here in a few minutes, is I have to change your relationship to the emotion. So just like we change the relationship to, like, anger is not a bad thing. Anxiety is our brain trying to protect us. Um, Sadness is, our body's telling us we need to go seek support or to grieve. Well, boredom's kind of the same thing. Boredom's not a bad thing. It's okay to be bored. In fact, it's better to kind of let yourself be bored. So what mindfulness tells us to do is to just kind of sit with an experience and let it happen without judgment. And a lot of times when we're bored, we try very quickly to find something to distract ourselves or to stimulate ourselves. I know for me, that is my absolute go-to. I'll sit there and be like, I'm bored. I'm gonna put on a podcast, or let's put on the TV, or I'm gonna go do something else. And by doing this, we're training ourselves to, excuse me, distract ourselves. We're training ourselves to let our minds wander and to try to run away from the sensation of boredom as fast as we can. We think boredom is a bad thing, and so we try to fix it. And I challenge you, the next time that you're feeling bored, the first thing is just to sit with the boredom. Just sit there, just 2 minutes, sit there and say, I'm going to sit here and just be bored for 2 whole minutes. Um, and just be with the feeling and don't judge it. Just let it happen. Look at your boredom and be like, okay, I'm feeling really bored. I'm feeling not stimulated. What's happening right now is not interesting to me. But mindfulness is all about being in the present. And so when we're bored and we try to put our mind onto other things, we're not really living in the present. We're trying to distract ourselves into another place, distract ourselves into another activity instead of what's actually happening around us. So I'm not saying do that every time. It would be impossible, but it's actually good to be bored. And it's not good to constantly train ourselves to move our attention other places, which is exactly what happens when we get bored. We try to train ourselves into getting distracted and to let our mind wander. It's actually not very good. So that's my first thing is the next time you're bored, just sit there for 2 minutes and allow yourself to be bored and just observe how it feels to be bored. It can be very uncomfortable. Just sit there and be bored. The second thing is focus on your physical body. So if you're bored, but maybe you're folding laundry or you're washing dishes or you're doodling in class, instead of thinking about what the teacher's saying or thinking about what you're drawing, concentrate on the physical movement of the pen, like what it feels like to hold the pen in your hand and to draw with the pen. Or if you're folding laundry, think about what it feels like to hold the clothes in your hands and to do the action of moving your hands. Focus on the physical piece that's happening. If you're sitting in class, just maybe you've got nothing to do and you're bored, do some breaths, breathing in, filling up the lungs, and then exhale. And just focus on the sensation of the air coming in and out of your nose. Just notice the physical part of what's happening and just the cold air coming in and out of your nose. Think about what that feels like. Think about your feet inside your shoes. So that's the thing. It's probably the biggest thing to take away from this is that boredom's not a bad thing. And when we try to constantly, every time we get bored, find something to fill the gap, it's actually not good for our brain. It's okay for us to be bored sometimes, to just sit with it just for a second. And if you really need to do something after sitting with it, think about your breath or think about whatever physical thing that you're doing right then, be it folding the laundry or drawing something with your pen. Just notice what's going on in your body instead of getting in your head. So my next tip is if you're ever bored, especially if you're sitting at home or it's a weekend or whatever, go outside. Go outside, and get some natural light. Go outside and move your body. I can go ahead and tell you, I have been bored today and I've not been very responsible with my boredom. I've been trying to fill the space with other things, trying to stimulate myself in a lot of different ways. And sometimes we're just bored. I mean, I think we arrive here on rainy weekends and we just don't have anything to do. We get a little stir crazy in the house, and it's so helpful to get outside, move your body, and get some natural light. It's going to help you sleep better. Not only because you're burning calories, but because you're aligning yourself with the natural biorhythms of the sun. There it is. I'm holding it. So we're going to go on a mindful walk. So you can enjoy that with me. Let's go. So that's my challenge to you. If you're bored, you really got to get something going on. Go on a mindful walk. So I'm going to actually flip my camera around. And I'll move my pop socket out of the way so you don't have to stare at it. First thing, just walk outside and just look around. You're going to notice that swing moving right now. Just put your attention on that swing. You can probably gather that that's exactly where I was sitting a minute ago. There's my house. We're just looking. Notice the colors. It's winter, so we don't have a lot of colors going on. But even so, there are still some colors. What all colors do you see? Name them to yourself right now. I see yellow and green, brown, white, blue, red. Lots of colors, actually, surprisingly. Be astounded to see what we can find. The next thing after we've engaged our sense of sight, let's engage our sense of sound. Just pay attention to what we hear. And if you can't hear well from what I'm displaying right now, you can just listen to what's in your environment here. Let's just take a second to listen. I'm hearing birds, a squirrel. I hear lots of cars driving by. Cars near and far. And then when you go outside, we haven't even moved yet, but when you go outside, notice what it feels like outside. Today feels awesome. It's like the first warm day in a very long time. I'm feeling the air. It's not warm air, but it's cool air, but it still feels awesome. I'm feeling my soft sweater on my body. Just feel the clothes that you're wearing right now, the weight of them, the texture of them. I'm feeling the ground. It's a little soft, because it snowed not long ago. It rained, so it's still a little soft. I'm feeling the phone in my hand. What are you near? What are some things that you can feel right now? Let's walk. I don't have a place I'm heading to. I'm just kind of letting my feet take me. You can do the same, so long as you've got a safe area to walk in. Just kind of let your feet take you wherever. I'm hearing now the crunch of leaves and grass under my feet. Notice the stories that are being told around you. Here's a story. You can put two and two together right there. The gates on the ground. Clearly, it got removed. I can tell you that was from a really, really windy day back in the fall. Notice. You need to go for a mindful walk. You can see what all stories are being told. Here's the remnants of a beehive. Actually, a paper wasp hive, which got destroyed because they're very aggressive. Go for a walk. Just look. You might learn a lot of different things. Easy, but what do you think this was? This was a garden back in the summer. They grew, well, can you tell what they grew? They grew corn. Make your green beans, lots of things. Now my son has brought his toys out here. And you might notice the emotions come up. Like, I mean, I'm standing here in this garden, and these neighbors that kept this garden right here in front of my house, it was like a community garden type thing. And this one lady, she worked all day in this thing all summer long, every year for many years. And they just moved away this year. So that actually brings up some sadness for me because I'm going to miss them. But that's okay. Just let those feelings as you go come up. When we start to move our body, we start to walk, you're going to have feelings arrive. Sometimes we don't want to sit with boredom because we don't want to have those feelings show up, right? Sitting with our thoughts means we have to confront things maybe we don't want to confront. Just let them bubble up to the surface, and then you don't have to entertain them long. Notice it, let it go on. Lots of good crunchy leaves. Hear a crow. And I have no agenda. I don't know where I'm going. Just looking, just noticing. This was also a garden here. Look here. Anybody recognize what that is? That is mint. And it smells like straight up spearmint gum. Actually smells really good. It's a very sensory walk. Sorry, my husband called. Anyway, that's what mint looks like. You just imagine right now that you're smelling something really minty. It's a very sharp smell. Very loud smell. You ever had a smell described as loud? Maybe I'm the first person that's ever done that. Who knows? Here we are. You never know. I could have eaten it, and that would have really been all 5 senses, but I did not. I don't really like mint. That's also okay with mindfulness. Mindfulness does not mean you have to be happy all the time. It does not mean you have to like everything you encounter. It just means that you let it be. So I'm just going to let the sensation of not liking mint be. That is neither right nor wrong. It just is. Lots of little birds flying away into the little underbrush there. And we're walking. More sadness coming up for me here. This is a different neighbor that also doesn't live here anymore. Lots of changes because of the pandemic, right? Have you lost anything because of the pandemic? You don't have to answer. Just think about it. Maybe you've gained something. That's okay. The sound now of me walking is much more pronounced because I'm walking on a road. There's a bamboo forest down there. And I've got no agenda. You don't have to be a good athlete. You don't have to be in great shape to go for a walk. You can just go and be. Walk a few steps, take a break, walk a few steps, take a break. No worries. Little house at the top of the hill here. There goes my husband. He doesn't know what I'm doing. You never know what you're going to encounter on a mindful walk, you know? You might even meet a friend or a spouse. I'm doing a mindful walk. Thank you. Goodbye. Cameo appearance. That was funny. Nature also tells us the story that spring is coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming soon. And I can already tell. I want you to think about, can you already tell? Do you know how to read the signs? I'll tell you one thing, the fact that it's still light outside is the first sign that winter will be over eventually. The days are getting longer. It's so good to get out and get your vitamin D. It's what we get from the sun. I'm trying to look. There's a certain plant I'm looking for. I'm going to show you. Always my first sign of hope that spring is coming. It's easy when you're walking to kind of let your mind go. And that's okay. You can let it go and be wherever it needs to be, but just notice the sensations that are happening. Are you letting your mind go because that's what it wants to do? Or are you letting your mind go because you don't want to be in the moment right now? There's a distinct difference. If you're letting your mind wander or you're daydreaming because you're bored, maybe again, just sit with the boredom. Or you're letting your mind go because you're watching your thoughts and that's where your thoughts are going and that's what you need to think through. That's okay. You might come up with a great solution for something. Notice the sun is about to set behind the ridge. It's lovely. Aha, I found some. You all know these. Do you recognize what these are? Of course, they haven't bloomed yet, but you see them. Do you know what this is going to be? These are going to be daffodils. Those beautiful yellow flowers. They, to me, are the first sign that spring is actually almost here. It still gets really cold, but it's like the first thing that actually blooms. I got some more right here. It's good. So I guess to wrap this up, my general takeaway for you would be let yourself get bored from time to time. And again, preaching to the choir here. I don't like to be bored. I don't like to sit with boredom. Not my favorite thing. I like to stay busy constantly. And it's okay. I'm not asking you to do it every time, but just the next time you feel bored, maybe for 2 minutes, sit with your boredom and just let it be. Just let yourself be bored. Live into the boredom. Don't run away from it. Run into it and be bored fully for 2 minutes and see what happens. And then notice what's going on in the body. Notice the actions of the body. Focus on that. Focus on the breath. Then go for a walk or do something. Take a shower, something. Get physical. Will help you move through the boredom. Not ignore it or distract yourself out of it, but move through it. The great saying says the only way out is through. So the only way out of the boredom is through the boredom. Don't try to suppress it. Cool. Well, thank you for joining me with this mindful walk. I so appreciate it. Let me know your best tips and tricks for boredom. Um, maybe I might learn something. Maybe I might be able to take some of your tips and tricks and use them myself. So thanks so much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I'm going to stop the recording.